So definitely remind me to never get on Reona's bad side. This girl just bullied the bullies in like the worst way possible. On one hand, I'm like sweet justice. The characters who deserve to be punished are getting punished. It's not just that their sword ended up in the shitter. Like, they literally were completely pushed away, if not fired. But on the flip side, this character scares me in more ways than one, because even though she did it to arguably bad characters, this is the type of character who I also feel like could easily do the same thing to Hiro, just in reality, should he maybe drop the game for real. And with the end of the episode, the obvious cliffhanger, hey, I'm going to tell you why I'm so enthralled by the idea of someone completing this game. I am 50-50 on what's going to happen with that. One hand, 50% saying she'll actually reveal her motivations, which would be great, which would be something that would maybe get people more interested potentially in wanting a second season. On the flip side, I've seen enough anime that 50% of me is saying she's going to blow it off as a joke, and while it may be fine for someone like me, for those who are teeter-tottering on do they like this show, might blue balls them a little too much. So I guess we'll see what happens. But, I mean, this episode was interesting because the first half of this episode I was okay with. That's probably the best way to put it. I was okay with what we were watching. It was more or less more of the same, and I kind of assumed as much. I mean, we're literally waiting for the clock to hit 0 as we wait for the goblin invasion. So I was saying, okay, nothing too crazy is going to happen. This boy is going to get bullied. This boy is going to get beat up because, he has to endure and survive for 5 days. And hopefully that will allow him to then survive the goblin attack, and that would transition into like a season 2 style storyline. And that's kind of what we get, but it was a little more than I was expecting. The whole idea of him getting beat up in training I was expecting, but I think the level of like how far they pushed him, it got me back into like the early days of watching this show. Why would you want to play this if literally you're getting the exact same treatment as you do in the real world? You're literally getting shook down for money. Though there was some refreshing aspects about it, like the fact that he literally goes to a guidance counselor in school. That's pretty much what it is. He sits down, he talks to the guidance counselor, and he tells him, yeah, this is all your fault, you probably should just quit. Or my favorite part of the first little chunk there was the baptism. The whole idea that he goes to pray to God because, well, if Kathy is religious, maybe that's like a sign of, oh, you naturally should go there because that's how side quests work, loyalty missions, right? Things like that. So the fact that just immediately he gets shut down and just drenched in water is like, oh, they're just going to give him a cold for the oncoming battle, right? But once it got into that second half, that's where it was really interesting because Reona's been, I would argue, the most useless supporting character next to Navi in The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. It's a character who says a lot of things but doesn't do a whole lot. Some of the pointers she gives does help him progress, but there's nothing overly like, honestly, you could cut ties with her and he would probably be in better shape more often than not. Though, with that said, she has encouraged the game guide and things like that. This was the episode, however, that she changed a hell of a lot. And the fact that his supporting character, the fairy Reona, influences his titles. This is going to be interesting, that's the best way to put it. But to see the escalation of going from the big tough bully, where's my boots? People are kind of like, oh man, the big bully got his boots stolen, that's kind of funny. They end up in the mud. They're doing this like emotional pull, like, oh, didn't your grandmother make it? Making him look a bit more soft. But Hiro and everyone helps him look for his things. Where's the sword? Oh my god, it has to be him. Well, it can't be him because he's been helping you this entire time. When you see his sword in the shitter, I thought it was funny, I thought it was amusing, but when he pulls it up and you just see it slimy with his deadpan expression, I lost it. One of my favorite jokes on this show, and I know it's legit toilet humor, I recognize it, but it was funny because this is a character who generally either they get away with their bullshit or they just get beat up. The humiliation angle was far more satisfying, and the fact that this snake-looking bastard, Speedy Gonzalez over here, literally refuses to be with him, as we then transition to Where's My Panties, this old nurse woman, and of course the panties are in his bag, and everyone pushes him away. I thought that was great. I thought it was hilarious. I thought it was like, justice was served. And I understand Hiro was like, oh shit, this may be going too far. As a viewer, I was like, this is amazing. But once I saw how far she actually took him, she put a letter. So the three characters who have made his life hell, the instructor and these two bastards, one gets literally so pushed away that he quits. The other is saying, oh, I'm not going to side with you. The letter is coming from the other guy to the instructor, and one gets fired, the other is pretty much just being attacked. That's amazing. I mean, like I said at the beginning of the video, on one hand I fear how far she would push it, but at the very least, for a moment, the bad people are getting what's coming to them in a very comedic and full dive fashion, and I enjoyed that a lot. Seeing all the characters come, in that generic fashion, oh, we shouldn't push back against you. That's the type of stuff that generally happens in the first episode of their interactions. Oh, people are doubting in him, so he beats the person in the battle. They all come in and say, that's right, Hiro's the man, Hiro's the MVP. That never happened for him, so he basically got abused for multiple episodes, and now they're all coming together. And it'll be interesting to see what he did, because of course this will probably be laid out in the game guide in some way. Oh, did you throw a sword in the shitter? You unlock this very rare route that allows you to have everyone sacrifice their life for you in order to survive or something, right? I don't think Hiro's gonna end up dead, even though he's fully convinced that, come this attack, he's gonna have no game console, but he's going to try as long as he can. I think it's really fun, I think it's different, and while the first half of the episode was kind of like, it was okay, it was in the middle of quality, I would say, it's just more or less the same. The two highlight points between, like, the guidance counselor office and the church were really funny. The rest of it was just like, I was like, okay, I've seen this man get his ass kicked enough, I don't need to see any more. But I will say, once I saw the second half of this episode, just witnessing the justice be served, I actually came to appreciate the first half a bit more. Basically, it's one of those situations where I was growing numb and a little disturbed by how much he was getting beat up and bullied, but when seeing his bullies get bullied, I actually appreciate how they really refreshed in my mind how much of scumbags they truly are, which made them getting in trouble something that had a grin on my face. An instructor who let this shit pass, bullies who are complete assholes. I mean, it's absolutely fantastic, and even though they're NPCs, I like how they all kind of recognize we are all scumbags to Hiro, and not a single person stood up for the instructor. Of course, it will eventually come back. I feel like he's now made a different enemy. The instructor will be the new yandere trying to kill him. But still, at the very least, he's created a new path that, even should it end in disaster, it will be hilarious nonetheless. This episode was very funny on a visual level, a lot of creative and unique art choices for Hiro, and especially these bullies. I just had fun with this one, It kind of flipped my opinion very quickly from being like, okay, it's an alright episode, to being one of the more memorable ones just for how it twisted what I thought was going to occur, and a character like Reona, who I thought was just going to troll this man, actually, ended up helping him, even if maybe it was too far, at least in his opinion, though he would be totally in line if Full Dive created a worse solution than getting killed by goblins by all this stuff. But let me know your thoughts and feelings on the episode, and where do you think next week's gonna go if you haven't read the source material? Do you think she's actually going to explain what she's doing and why she's doing it? Or do you think we're gonna get that comedic fashion of brushing it aside and Hiro being like, what in the actual hell? Because I feel like that's definitely a likely possibility, but let me know your feelings down below, drop a like to help promote the video, and subscribe if you're new around here. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.